Hello and welcome to episode 10 of Subs Bench on Screen. Today we're joined by ex-Matilda Amy Chapman and ex-Socceroo Matt McKay. They'll talk about their development as juniors, their professional careers, and how they ended up on the board of Football Queensland and their vision for the future. Well, let's crack in. So both of you, welcome to the Subs Bench. Possibly not a place you were accustomed to during your career, but now that you're here, where did it all start? So earliest memories of football as a kid, what kind of got you into the game? First things you remember about it. Start with you, Matt.
Okay, yeah. Sunnybank Saints, Church League, at Lister Street in Sunnybank. And yeah, my old man was coaching my brother, and my brother's 3 years older, and just drew me in. I think when you're younger, at lunchtime and before school is where my memories of football really started. Yeah. Like playing a whole of grade 3 versus us, like at seniors or whatever in primary school. I think primary school is probably the moments I remember the most.
Yeah. Have you got drawn into the rugby league, being Sunnybank?
No, I didn't. My old man was a winger. I don't think he was a very good one. But yeah, no, I was always too small, supposedly.
Yeah. Yourself?
I'd love to say I was at school, but we had to wear a kilt to school, so there was no soccer playing. Yeah, I don't know why. I went to like a Scottish private school.
Yeah.
But no, my first footballing memories, I played for a club in Albury, where I'm from, which is on the border of New South Wales and Victoria. Albury Hotspurs was my first ever team, nice. And my twin sister and I, we just played because my older brother was playing, so it was convenient to just leave us at the soccer fields there. But we loved it, and the reason I was so passionate was so that I was good enough to play with him in the backyard. That was sort of where the drive came from.
Yeah. Did your twin continue playing or?
Yeah, she was a class player actually, yeah. So she went on to play for Australian under-20s, but I think she did her ACL when she was 14.
Yeah.
Which we didn't know a lot about rehab back in those days. So, but no, she was a very good footballer.
Yeah, excellent. So first junior clubs, where it all got started, any coaches that stood out as where you look back and go, that coach had a massive impact on kind of how I developed and progressed on?
Yeah, my dad initially when I was younger, just had that support, I guess, is pretty handy. And then from there, Gary Johnson I had for a state team. Obviously, his son's boss of CEO of FA. And then from there, obviously, working the way, I had Gary Phillips at the QAS. Was a big help because it was someone that I used to look up to. Obviously, I'm a massive Prison Strikers fan back in the day. So, those were the junior ones, I guess. And there's a lot more. Everyone had a little bit of an influence on me, even if it was negative. Changed the way I looked at the game or made me more hungrier. So, and that progressed through senior football as well, similar.
Yeah. Do you find as well, sometimes, like you touched upon it there, and I've always thought this, sometimes it's the bad coaches that kind of, they send you on a different path. I certainly know that when you move into coaching, you take a lot from the good ones, but you also take a lot from the bad ones to say, well, I know what not to do now. And I think as a player as well, sometimes you've got a bad coach, it forces you into a different direction, and you find yourself in a better environment.
It happens like throughout your career. It's like it can happen in a junior club, no doubt. It happened to me, it happened to others. But then senior, like it's even more so, as you can be changing different clubs, it might be changing different countries and stuff like it. Your career can go on different tangents. It's remarkable really where you end up, and it'd be interesting to see what happened if, an earlier move in your career. Have you ever thought about that? Where you
it's like a sliding doors moment.
Like, it's crazy.
Is it more difficult adjusting to a new club, or say like a coach gets a sack and a new coach comes in, or does it purely depend on the club and the coach?
No, it's probably a bit of both. Changing coaches. You need, like I found with my own, I need a coach who appreciate what you can do.
Yeah,
it's hard to break that mold if they come in and they don't want you. Different clubs is tough as well. Like I don't know how many different clubs you end up with. Different countries, different languages, different way of playing. You have to adapt pretty quick to see if you're going to fit.
It's different being a pro when that's your livelihood as opposed to playing on a weekend with your mates, for sure. Yeah. How about you?
Yeah, I think just interesting listening to that, how different coaches have an influence on you. I found often different coaches had different focuses on things. When I went from playing in Australia to over and playing in LA, they focus so much on athleticism and strength. They're so strong and powerful, and as a small player, that's where I learned to just hold my body better. How do I protect the ball a lot better? Where in Australia, it just was not something that was focused on. I remember Robbie Hooker, he played for the Socceroos at one point. He was my coach for a long time. He was mad on fitness.
Yeah.
In fact, at one point, he brought his wife along to do the beat test next to us. She beat everyone except the two of us in the thing. And he turned around and was like, "You call yourselves athletes." She was an incredible runner, by the way. But yeah, that was his, like, it was a little bit of, let's show you a bit of reality. You think you're athletes, but my wife can beat you. And she's not an athlete. She's just a casual morning runner. So it was just, some people have different tactics, a way to tap into you and way to, energise you to want to get better. Ayrton Andrioli, I think he's down in South Australia now. He was very technical and I was always a very technical player. And so it's great people who appreciate that strength, but I also love the ones that went, you're too weak on the ball. Let's teach you this. So I think as you go through the systems, and I think as a youngster, and when your original question was around really early days, I just loved a coach who just treated me like one of the boys. There's no favouritism or any of that. Football's football. Let's go out there. You make a mistake, it doesn't matter. So I just wanted to be treated like one of the boys, and there was a few of those that did that really, really well, and that's what made me want to continue.
Well, that's an interesting thing that I didn't even click onto until you. So you just started out playing when probably girl-only teams were not really a thing, so you had to just muck in with everyone. Was there many girls in the team?
Just my twin sister and I actually didn't play in an all-females team till I think I was 15.
Wow.
Because I'm also from a country town, so we almost an exaggeration of that. Like, if I grew up in Metro, I probably would have jumped across earlier, but I actually had no clue there was even all-female teams, but I loved it. I loved, I even cut my hair, nice little undercut there for a while just to blend in with the boys, but I loved it because I just liked, it's football at the end of the day. Once you cross that line, your gender is really irrelevant. And I actually got forced out of playing with the boys eventually. So, but I think actually it's a really great way. And I've got this saying, if you're the best player in the team, you're in the wrong team. So I think for us, I was always like, do we play upper grade? Do we play with the boys? And I say that it's not just for females in the game. You just want to be challenging yourself at all occasions. So
are you playing at the same age group as the boys?
Both, really. So we play above as well. So even under 12s, we're playing under 14, under 15 boys.
Really?
And even when I did turn 15, we would train with the senior men. But legally, we weren't allowed to play with them on the weekends. So we would train with the men, play with the girls and the 15 boys. Yeah, but up until 15 or 16, I never played in an all-females team. So it was nice to actually go to these metro areas and realise there was other females out there who were passionate, and then I quickly realised, we could actually have a run at this. We could be quite good at the top females. I gave up on my Socceroos dream. I focused on Matildas.
Smart.
It's probably been massively beneficial, though, hasn't it, to just be playing so where you actually have to prove yourself. Almost every time you're crossing the line, you've got to prove yourself that you belong and this, that and the other, and you're playing up. It's definitely got to be beneficial.
Absolutely, and I think it's one of the number one questions that parents ask me now is like, I've got an 11-year-old girl, she's training with the boys, but she likes to be with her friends, and where should she be for the best opportunity for her? And I always say, wherever they're enjoying their football the most, that's the number one thing. And again, I come back to that same saying around, if you're the best player in that team, you're not in the right team. You must challenge yourself if you need to go, even if you train in a different group with stronger, faster boys or girls, and then play with a different team on the weekend. You just have to be challenging yourself.
That should be every footballer.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Fair enough. How did you two find the progression from junior football development into senior football and then professional, where it's all about winning?
Yeah, I was pretty fortunate to go from school straight to the AIS. So I had a year to really learn how to be professional. Loved it down there. Actually disappointed there's no AIS anymore. For me, it was just such a good environment to be in 24/7, thinking about football and only football, and learning my trade, and had great coaches down there. I had Ray Joyner and Steve O'Connor. So that transition was a lot easier when I signed for my boyhood club, Brisbane Strikers, and fortunately when I got there was an injury and I was straight in, and I just played 2.5 seasons straight. So it's a bit easier when your first contract is a base wage, appearance fee, and then win bonuses.
Yeah.
Because it's exciting when you win, right? Because there's incentive.
Even more so than usual.
When you're a hungry young player, want to win, you're fighting in training. But I really liked how that was put in place.
Yeah, incentive.
You don't see that anymore.
No.
Like cross NPL or A League, it's hard because you got a salary cap and you got to spend that salary cap in A League. You can't have incentive base because if you end up winning every game, you go over the cap, right?
Yeah.
So I really liked that way of doing it.
Yeah, is it the AIS was? Forgive us. That was the program was similar to what England would have had with Lily Shaw, where you went and you stayed there, and it was basically the elite.
That was tough. I was just like, mummy's boy, like to
go live away from home.
Away from home, like it was tough. And that was in early 2000s, 2001. So just that to get out of your comfort zone, be in an environment, it does. And I was very grateful to give them that opportunity.
You see the talent that came out of that. So I was living in Canberra at the same time. The female program, there wasn't an on-site AIS like there was for the boys, but we used to play against them all the time. So we were 16, 17-year-old girls. We would play against the AIS boys. Yeah. And even as Tommy Rodgick was there, Stevie Lustica, like all of these, the players that have gone on and come out of that system was unreal. So it was quite nice to have. We played against them when they were tiny, and now Tommy Rodgick's 6'5" or something. But you can see the technical ability that they got and their professionalism as football. I think it was really interesting era, and I'd love to see where if that could come back. But it's
is there any link between that not being a thing anymore and us not having an Olympic team for the men's this year, or
potentially? It's they changed the whole fabric of it, right? Of how you go to academy, or we'll talk about. I guess we'll touch on that later as well.
But come back to it, cool question.
It's an interesting one. Olympics is tough to qualify for.
Yeah.
World Cups are good. Fortunately for the men, it's more teams qualify because it's getting harder and harder, and we got luckier and luckier, right? For the Socceroos.
The other school of thought is too. You're taking these young kids out of their comfort zones, out of their schooling sometimes, and you're going, let's all come and live in Canberra, which can be comfortable, it's freezing. There's lots of things about that program that also, when you think about holistically about the individuals that went there, maybe was it the best thing? Might have been for Maddie, may not have been for someone else, because we need these different schools of thoughts. We need more.
Other countries do it.
Yeah.
Other countries, they put them together for 2 years.
Yep.
They play in a competition together, and then, they get that understanding, and they go to these tournaments and they qualify for big ones or go further in competitions.
It'd be good to do a bit of a study on that. The nations that have always had these, I suppose, grand and sort of facilities where, so AIS would Australia, Lily Shaw, I think it was at La Fontaine in France, where all Henri and all them came out. I'm not sure whether they're still doing that one, but I think because the clubs have got more powerful now, they're like,
well, they own them from 11.
We've got them now. Yeah. We'll look after them. They'll develop our way. So maybe there's something to do with that. The bigger clubs have got more finances, more people looking after the development of players. Whereas if you're not with one of those clubs, your development might have been better at an AIS or Lily Shaw or something like that. So
it'd be interesting if there was an AIS, what competition they'd put them into.
Yeah.
Now, and I don't have an answer for that. I'd love them to play in A League, but.
That's a team you can really get behind.
I would. Yeah.
Young lads like the future sort of national players.
The way it is now with the A League is there are so many more opportunities for young players, which is good. Another teams come in, another one comes in. So that's more opportunities. And you've seen that with what's happening with them financially, is that they're just more opportunities for young players. And they're starting to go, right? Overseas and stuff like that. So it's just getting more exposure.
If you were across on a Sunderland signed one and then loaned them straight out, but in 2 years' time, you could be playing first team football.
And that's got to be beneficial for the Socceroos that these guys are getting overseas.
Good thing for the young boys, good thing for the Socceroos. Is it a good thing for the A-League, considering you're not going to have those more marquee players coming in these days?
Yeah, potentially. You want marquee players, obviously, to increase the standard and teach these young players how to do it. I'm still really excited every time I flick on an A-League game. I don't know what the TV numbers like and stuff like that, but when I watch them, I'm like, geez, these guys are doing something different. They're creating good chances. That's actually exciting to watch. It's just trying to get those people to the games.
We talk about Central Coast a lot, especially now that what they've done. It's unreal in comparison with 5 years ago, however long it was when they couldn't buy a win. It's
I don't even think it was that long ago.
Probably not.
But they backed their policy.
Yeah,
they stuck with it. It helps when there's no relegation, mind, and you can really get behind the
that's true as well.
process. What about yourself? The rise to the professional game.
I suppose ours was a little bit of a journey. We didn't quite have such a good system in place in the women's game, so. I actually had to move from the country town to Canberra when I think I was 15 or 16. And I think when you're a talented teenager in the women's game, you got pulled up pretty quickly. We've seen that with Mary Fowler. We've seen some of these young, you get fast-tracked to the Matildas, so you've got to grow up really, really quickly. I actually went to the Under-20s World Cup 6 months post an ACL tear, which is now mind-blowing.
Nice.
So I played one practice match against boys here, and then I was over in Russia. My second game I played I was 6 months post ACL at Under-20s. I think I was 16, maybe 17.
Did you feel ready at that point?
Absolutely not. No. I was quite unfit, and that was the way it was. I was still talented enough to go, and nowadays they wouldn't risk it. You wouldn't do those kind of things. You'd think longer term, but there wasn't that much known about it at the time. So, I kind of got thrown into the deep end a little bit in the Matildas world. So I moved to Canberra for 4 or 5 years, and then the Matildas coach at that time, I think I was 20, and I'd had 2 ACLs by that time, so the story gets worse with the knees.
Same knee?
One on each. And then
I kind of say between yourself and your sister, you had 2 good knees, but that's
every female in my family has torn their ACL, so if that doesn't tell you it's in genetics, it's... so I ended up having 3 ACL recons in the end, but 2 before I was 20. And then I moved up to Brisbane, actually, because the Matildas coach at that time, which was Tom Samani, said, you need to go where the majority of the Matildas are. So he said, it's Sydney or Brisbane, and I said, Brisbane looks sunnier.
A bit warmer.
We'll head there, and I've never left. So that was sort of my journey, and I had a couple of seasons over at the LA Galaxy women's team. At the same time, Bex was there, so that was a cool experience, and totally different brand of football. They've got that whole college system over there. They're an absolute powerhouse in the women's game. So that was great. It was a great insight for me. And then, I've had 7 or 8 years with the Brisbane Roar. Yeah.
Did, when you were with the Galaxy, because Beckham was playing for the men's team, did that, raise the profile for the women as well?
Yes and no. I think it just got every American interested in football all of a sudden, which was quite fascinating to watch. It was more of a celebrity thing. I think every time you went to a game, it was spot the celeb and that kind of stuff. But I mean, women's football in the US is just off the charts now. And I think we talk a lot about the Matildas, a lot of them at WSL. If you really look at the financials and who's going to be the fastest growing in the world, it's definitely the NWSL. Yeah. Unless you're in the Arsenals or the really top 3 teams, out of Chelsea, Arsenal, maybe Man City, if you're in anything below that, you get triple the money in the NWSL in the women's.
It felt like there was a bit of a shift there. I thought it was coming over to England.
Yeah, it was, I think, but there's only 3 or 4 clubs doing a good job.
Starting to go back, right?
Man United do a good job, but then there's a little bit of daylight. Then you've got your Spurs, West Ham, and even then the wages are not what everyone would think. I think it's not what they deserve, and you could get a lot more playing elsewhere, but sometimes you want to play for these big clubs. You want to do that, but...
Similar to the men, though, I think there's so many good opportunities for the youngsters to go over now.
It's massive.
And it's got to be better for the Matildas because I think there's a little change coming in with the Matildas. I think there's a few people will be moving on. I think they'll shake up the squad now. Yeah,
it'll be an interesting era to watch, I think. Obviously, they didn't do so well at the Olympics, and there's going to be a change in the card. And but I think there will be a little generational gap. We have that golden talent right now with the Caitlin Ford, Sammy Kerr. They've still got another round in them, but there's probably 3 or 4 at the top that will circle out. So, but there's still some of them are still there because there's not enough pressure on them. To drive them out, which is depth, but it will come. This is what's so exciting about football in this country right now, particularly in the women's space. You drive around that next generation in about 10 years' time. The 10-year-olds that are there now, it's unbelievable what's
You're
going to
seeing,
happen.
like I see it down in my local club, they're playing like full girls teams already. Like it's so young. It's really good to see.
Yeah.
Do you think that the World Cup had a massive impact on that? Having it here?
Game changing.
Yeah.
Absolutely game changing. And I think not only was it like an amazing time for football in this country,
Yeah.
it was an amazing time to be a woman, really.
Yeah.
The amount of people going to games, they're not even talking about the gender whatsoever. They were just they knew everything about the game, everything about
I
football.
found that in
It increased the men's game.
Oh,
Yeah.
100%.
my wife went to, I think, 2 or 3 games, and she really comes to our games, and she was like, oh, a couple of the girls are going, we're going to go in, and her mum would come around, her dad would come around, and they'd be like, get the game on and stuff. So people who didn't show much interest, all of a sudden, bang, Australia are playing it Wednesday, 8 o'clock, we've got to be watching it.
But it wasn't even just Australia. It was any game at Suncorp. You know,
Yeah.
it was packed. Like I went Korea versus Germany, which was at that point not quite a dead rubber, but basically packed.
Yeah.
Like the Korean supporters were unreal.
But so it shows how multicultural our sport is as well, and the crowds that you can bring in. It was a different actual crowd than you would get perhaps at a men's game as well, because a little bit more family friendly as well. But these girls, like the number of role models and household names now is incredible.
Yeah.
And I think if I look back at the people I looked up to and the reason why I had to cut my hair as an undercut is because I wanted to play for the Socceroos.
Yeah.
I had Robbie Slater, Harry Kewell on my wall, and that's what I genuinely felt I needed to be. But nowadays, you can have ribbons in your hair, you can do anything you want.
Yeah.
The diversity in role models is what's, it gives me goosebumps thinking about.
Just quickly before we move on to the real interview, should Sankara have played in that game where they brought her back, or did she come back too early?
Talking World Cup.
Yeah.
The England game, is this what you're talking about? Yeah, I think honestly
She
sometimes...
scored, right?
Yeah, and just her sheer presence,
Yeah.
it does make a big difference if they're thinking about her and her vertical ability in the box. Again, we don't have enough squad depth to say, hey, we'll take a half-fit Sammy anytime. So I'm actually a bit sad she didn't go along to the Olympics. Even it's a lot stricter there to take extra people and there's limited seats, but her presence in the changing room.
Coaching staff.
Yeah, it's pretty powerful. So, anyways, that's hindsight.
Cool.
Fair enough. Speaking about World Cups, international debuts. Talk us through them. Start with
Mine was 2006 against Bahrain at SFS. It was an A-League squad, so it wasn't like a full...
still a Socceroos
full
squad, mate.
It was, full contingent. But, I only came in stoppage time and played 3 or 4 minutes and was very nervous, got 1 pass and I think to Mark Milligan. It was obviously a dream come true for me. And then I had a real not lean patch, but wasn't selected again for a number of years, like 3 or 4 years. So, Socceroos is a pinnacle for any Aussie player, and I'm proud to play so many games that I did for them.
Did you think it was one and done at that time when you were...
Yeah, a bit so, yeah. And then, kind of just open up from there. It really depends on the coach, like we spoke about it earlier. Him came in, God bless him, and, said the A-League was rubbish and wouldn't select players from the A-League. And then, obviously, Holger came in and gave me a chance and was watching the A-League, and very fortunate that Ange Postecoglou came around at the right time for the Brisbane Roar and did really well, and the rest was history with obviously with the impact that he had. And then, Holger called me in. So
Is that when you played left back?
I played a bit of left back under Holger, only under Holger. So, I was midfield to start, left midfield, and 4'2", but Holger just set up the team really basically and just gave you a real lot of confidence. Was a great man manager and just letting you go and do your thing. So for me, that was really easy coming out of a Brisbane Roar system where it had been so successful.
Yeah. Is that, like with the internationals, is that man management the thing? Like given that, the coach doesn't have that much time with you guys as players?
Yeah. It is a bit of both. But I think selecting a team that will be cohesive and giving those players confidence is important because they all know what they do back at their club and they've all got different theories on how they play and such. But then tactics is only you've only got those couple of days to do it generally.
Yeah,
So it was Holger was a great man and got the most unfortunate friendlies organised after we qualified for Brazil. We qualified in obviously 2013 and for the World Cup in Brazil 2014, and our first 2 friendlies was Brazil away and France away, and we got beaten 6-0. 6-0.
Was it a Sunday morning? Well, wouldn't have been a Sunday morning.
Yeah.
It would have been like Saturday night potentially.
Yeah, they're both horrible trips.
Yeah.
6-0, 6-0, and he got the sack in Paris and told us after the game. So, yeah, big stitch up for him.
That's brutal.
That was when Ange came in, though.
And that's when Ange came in, yeah.
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 Nice.
And what about yourself? International. Do you get the call off the coach? Does the coach make the call and say, "Oh, look, you're in the squad," or is there someone behind the scenes?
Manager.
Yeah, probably fax back in those days, wasn't it? No, I don't know. Oh, please. Maddie and I are similar age. I think I got, no, you got 2 years on me, I think. Again, a little bit different in the women's game to how Maddie's was because, and I hope this is probably a chat for another podcast, I hope this changes, but for us, we played club football as almost something to do in between Matildas. So you were almost always in this Matildas squad. So whereas Matty gets rewarded on his performances for making the Socceroos the best in the business at that position right now, you get the call up. Whereas there wasn't enough visibility on what we were doing, so it was more about there's this wider core group of 30 of us at any given time who were on part of the Matildas crew, and then they just call you and say, you've made this tour. But essentially we just played against boys comps. We used to, the A-League's women's was only 12 weeks at that time. So it's honestly, you do a calf and
9-month off season.
That's it. So we just get fit, played against boys till you get called back up into the Matildas again. So I'm glad times have changed, but what I would love to be, it was all about have you made the Matildas or haven't you? I'd love for players to be recognised for what they did in club football. As Matty's best known for his Brisbane Roar days as well and how incredible he did, whereas it wasn't that case in the women's game. So going off on a tangent there, but I can't remember my specific
call-up
debut. I don't think, because like I said, we used to play so many friendlies, so New Zealand would come over and I never knew if it was a formal game or an informal game. But I'm pretty sure my debut was against New Zealand at Sunny Coast, and I did score, so that was good. It was a cross, a volley, tidy finish.
How many Matilda goals?
4, yeah.
Better than me.
Yeah, well, you were at left back, so I had to better than you. So I think that was the one. It was my first official cap, so it was nice. I probably didn't realise it at the time. There was no big hoo-ha, but it was pretty tough to make it at the top back then as well.
Have they given you a cap?
Oh yeah, I've got a little. Yeah, it's in a frame.
Yeah, awesome.
Nice. Where's yours about?
Yeah, take it to school.
Yeah, cute.
It's staggering actually that. So asking about your Australia debut, and you're like, I can't actually remember whether it was this game or that game. Like, is it like it's the pinnacle of your career? And you're like, I don't know. Actually, think it was New Zealand.
I had more detail.
Yeah, I think and now, if I was in the Matildas now, it's 10 years too soon perhaps. They make a big deal out of it. Everybody knows it's a big thing. But back then I was, it wasn't
just
quite
another game.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
We weren't sure whether it was an A international or what it was. But it was definitely the full Matildas at that time, and then we went on some tours and stuff like that. So.
Yeah.
Was that the highlight for you, or was there another highlight within your career that stands out?
Oh no, I think there's definitely playing against the likes of Marta, who's an absolute goat in the women's game. We went on a tour to China, and I think it was 70,000 in there, and I would say less than a handful of them were cheering for us.
Yeah, right.
So those kind of experiences, you just can't. I remember looking around, going, "This is wild." But I think that we played a game at the SCG against Canada, and my family. It was the first time my family came, because even that New Zealand one, we didn't know that was going to be a proper cap. So no one from my family came. We didn't know at that time. But this game against Canada was a much bigger deal, and they came and I scored. So I would say that would be the highlight. Yeah, definitely.
Like yourself?
I'm fortunate I went to the World Cup, so playing against my heroes, played against Netherlands and Spain. That, and then winning the Asian Cup on home soil. So to have, packed out, was it the Sydney Olympic Park, 80,000. I came on against Korea in the final, and we're leading 1-0, and then ended up going to extra time. So Jesus Christ, we got there. James Teresi. So those kind of moments when you lift trophies, I think for the national team, are pretty hard to come by.
Were you part of the Asian Cup prior?
I was, and that was probably my breakout tournament in 2011 in Qatar. And I got to play with Harry Kuehl. It was like my dream, like posters, like we had. So I remember training and high on confidence.
Yeah.
Holgood gave me the confidence, and Brett Emerton got suspended in the second game, 2 yellows. So I came in and I didn't lose my spot, so I kept him out of the team. And is an absolute gentleman and athlete and player, like unbelievable Brett Emerton.
Yeah.
I played all the way through, and we were unlucky in the finals, to be fair, against Japan. We really should have won it.
Yeah. Remember it well.
So when your career comes to an end, and you've played at the highest levels and this, that and the other, what motivates you to get involved on the board at Football Queensland? Is it to make a change, a positive change? Is it to stay involved in the game? Is it a bit of both?
You can go first because you joined the board first.
I did. Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think it was never something when I was playing that I thought that's next steps for me.
I want to be on the board.
But like I said, my career ended a little bit suddenly with an ACL with the Matildas, and then I continued playing a few years with Brisbane Roar and working full time.
Yeah.
But I remember getting a call from someone that I've always really respected and admired in football in Queensland, and I think this dives into a bigger conversation around. I knew I wanted to give back to the sport, and it's really easy to point out all these things that need work in the game. There's particularly in the women's space, there's just an unbelievable amount of stuff that could be done.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to be able to have something tangible that I could do. It's like I said, it's so easy to point out all these things. If I could point out 3 or 4 things and make a genuine difference in those spaces, I thought, lack of a better term, I just wanted to get my hands dirty with it. What can I do? Because very little goes a long way, particularly in the women's game. So it was important to me to do that. And I felt that I was in a position to give back from my corporate world. I've obviously lived and breathed football from a regional aspect, from development aspect, professional. And I've lived in Queensland now for like 13 years. So I've got a pretty good understanding of the landscape, played some NPL here just casually towards the back end. Got out of 3rd or 4th gear occasionally. So I felt like I was in a position to give back. And I think maybe even more so for me is we do lack female leaders in sport in general, in board positions in general as well. So I thought, if not me, then who? So let's do it. Let's dive in. So I think it's important to have good role models out there representing the broader community.
Yeah, I think we needed football people on the board, and our board's an incredible board, but we're the players that have played at a high level and kind of understand from that aspect.
Yeah.
So I think that's important for any board to have that. And I wanted to give back. I was reluctant at first, to be honest, to join, but Johnny McKay was coming off, and he'd obviously worded me up, and I said no initially, but a bit of a twist of the arm, and I'm a Queenslander through and through.
Yeah.
So, and I've been in the system throughout from a pathways perspective, but also I wanted to see participation grow.
Yeah.
And myself finishing playing, going back to the community level, playing myself at community, hearing stories from community players, seeing my sons grow up, and hopefully my daughter when she plays in that junior space. It kind of gave me a platform, I guess, to help out and see where I can plug a hole or help out. And I still got so much more I want to do. I want to be more involved, not just the board, but with Football Queensland, and just seeing if they need help or any ideas from our perspective. So, I'm grateful to be on the board, and I'm really enjoying learning as well off the other board members, because we've got a fantastic board, right, that are leaders in their fields. Yeah. So if we can pick up a bit of that knowledge, that will be helpful as well for football.
And it probably, I would say, it goes hand in hand that coming off the back of successful international careers as well, you're actually leaders in your own right in terms of your football knowledge. So does that have an impact on the strategies that you would like to see put in place because you've been involved and played the game at such a high level? Do you think that gives you that little bit extra when it comes to those decisions that need to be made? Do they lean on you a little bit more?
Yeah, so we've got understanding. So we we're open to be helpful whenever that's.
Yeah, I think ironically what you're saying about our experience at the top level is probably the thing that's least relevant about what we've done in our time to football, because this is grassroots. This is going back to our journeys as we came up and those kind of things, and getting back in touch with the development pathways, with these community clubs, with mass volunteers, because we're also volunteers on these boards. I would love to be able to give some more time, and having children hasn't helped that process. Well, we've just got one at this stage, but
try 3.
But it's been funny, like, because I come in going, we've represented the Matildas, we'll add great value here, and then it's a quick learning of actually even the financial structure of working in a not-for-profit is totally different. So that's where it's great to have these different diversity of thought around the board table, and actually getting out there and really seeing what are the issues in these regional areas, what do clubs need, how can we help them, what resources. So it takes a while to get your head around it and really go, because you come in with a million ideas and then the reality is,
finances. And,
let's get government.
Infrastructure.
Yeah, it's a big beast. It's a big beast. So you try and take the wins where you can.
Yeah. And getting on to, I suppose, the pathways, opportunities that Football Queensland develop for young talent, is that, obviously things are getting put in place all the time. Is it a work in progress? Is there still a lot more work to be done?
Yeah, it's a work in progress. Obviously, when I was a kid, we had one Queensland team. Now I've presented jerseys to the teams that just went away to the from the men's side, and there's 3, right? So there's more opportunity for people. I can tell you from my state team when I was a junior, there's probably 2 or 3, 4 of us that actually became professionals.
Yeah.
So it's not the end of the world, right? These teams, these pathways, there's so many different ways you can get to the top.
Yeah.
And I think if kids can understand that, some kids develop later or develop earlier, and there'll be changes. It's just to not to give up. And I think the pathways is just to give as many opportunities as possible these kids, and it's up to the kids to really train, listen to coaches, find your path to get to the top. So
it's the old adage, in it, you can take a horse to water, you can't make a drink.
Correct, yeah.
You can give these young players as much platform as you can, but ultimately it's on them to take on board what they've been taught, to put it into action, to look after themselves the right way. And we've all seen young players that don't do that.
Yeah, and you've got to take your chances. There's no doubt about it. And as you get further and further up the ladder, it's about being able to deal with pressure. Like you talk about playing in front of 70,000 people, so that's different than playing in front of your mum and dad and your friends or stuff. So you got to try and find those opportunities or replicate those opportunities for as you go further. So that for me, there's different pathways. So I'm a coach at Brisbane Grammar in the GPS system, and they're playing in front of a few hundred people on a weekend, a bit more pressure than playing in front of 50 at an NPL game of junior level or something. So there's different ways you can get better, and it's just getting as many games as possible.
Yeah.
Because I know from the Asia, when I played in Asia, they're training so much. They're getting more contact hours. In Europe, they're getting more contact hours. So it's about getting as many touches of the ball as possible, more games, and throughout the year. But I guess that comes a bit more further on the track than being a Queenslander, being in the sun. You should be playing so many sports when you're young, and then have fun, enjoy it, and then it becomes a little bit more serious.
Yeah, and I think in the pathways, I think it will be forever, and I hope it is a forever evolving organism, and particularly in the women's game, it's changing so much. So we've still got the QAS program. We've obviously have some future Matildas programs, and it's until we get this new generation of participation coming through. I think the aim is never to have one solidified pathway. If anything,
got to be flexible.
The broader the better. We want these NPL clubs to be so great, so powerful that they are amazing avenues that you come into an Olympic and you start there. You go through the program. Like I think they've done a great job previously in the men's, where you start as a junior there, and then the goal is to work your way up. So I think we've got a little way to go.
I'd love
to
stay in the same club all the way through. It'd be really, really good.
If you can get the level of coaching and
coaching's important. Coaching education's huge.
Yeah.
We need more good quality coaches, and the pathways are there. They're set to do that with your license and stuff.
And that's the whole pathway with the pyramid itself, is if you get these elite NPL clubs, they're the ones that are taking ownerships of the development of these players as well. That's what you want. And then you've got that level of competition as well. They're playing as many games as possible. So previously in the women's game, you draw them in almost like the AIS concept out of wherever they are playing competitive games to this centralised, almost mass curver clinic, if anyone remembers the curver. Great stuff. But that we're almost moving away from that, where we're empowering these NPL clubs. So I think particularly in the women's game, we've got a long way to go with bringing the bottom up. Let's bring the standard up. There's two things that need to happen is we need to raise the bar at the top. So your key big clubs must raise the bar, and they need to do a better job of that. And that's part of the reason I'm here, is to keep them accountable, because they think they are. Sometimes it's tokenistic. Sometimes I expect more. We demand more. In fact, getting it the same as the men is actually not good enough anymore. Sometimes you need to be doing much more in the women's space. And then the second part of it is, can we bring the bottom up? Can we keep those accountable at that end too? So, there's got a bit carried away there.
No, so what was it?
Passionate about the pathway.
Long way to go, but it's moving in the right direction.
How's it travelling like so far? Like just in the time that you've been involved?
Huge. Since I've been on the board, it's been absolutely incredible, and it needs to. And I think we actually need to fast track it even more. If you drive around and see the number of, I think we've had, Rob will quote me on this, but 44% growth, 40%, particularly in the women's game. That's women's game alone, and the men's is, the growth is exceptional as well. We will still struggle in the infrastructure. We'll still struggle for coaches and referees in that space until we actually get some funding and resources to back this and support that growth. But
we've got to deal with the growth. It's going to be.
Well,
that's our biggest challenge.
I will say one thing. I've been looking into this today for some of the coaches at my club. There's a lot more C licenses on these days and B license. There used to be like one a year, and now there's like 3 or 4 at the end of the season. So you can get a lot more people, sort of tooled up to go out there and actually deliver sessions and coach teams. So I think that's a massive improvement.
And they've just restructured the way they're doing the licenses as well. So it's a lot. It's a bit more. It's easier. You don't have to do
streamlined.
So with the C license, obviously you used to have to video after and then go send that in. They don't have to do that now. So
if you especially back in the day when you would film your session, and I think we all did it. You would tell the players beforehand, look, this is what we're working on.
Just
I want you to make this mistake so I can correct you. And then they wouldn't make the mistake, and then there'd be a brilliant piece of football and it was from the wrong team, and you're like, I have to record this again next week. And that's how it was, whereas now you get judged on course.
Correct.
I think. And it's probably a bit more relaxed. It's when the camera's on, you think, 20 minutes, it's got to be perfect. I'd far rather do it now than back then. I went to Cairns to do my C license.
There you go.
By choice? Or?
Well, because it was the only one I could get on. It was one that year, and I thought, well, I missed last year, I have to go to Cairns.
You had a trip to Cairns as well.
I had to do 11 days, and my twins were 11 and a half month old.
Sounds like you're trying to get away from the weekend.
So I stayed in Gilligan's in a 10-bed dorm. And we had 4 days off in between, but I couldn't fly back and then fly back. It would have been like 2 days. So I just said, Janice, I have to stay there.
Gonna have to.
Yeah.
It was brilliant.
We'll have to organise the next one in Cairns, just for that.
Yeah, it was class. So, international teams and the future. How do you see the future of the Matildas and the Socceroos? I know that there's, you tell me, what do you think? Because I think that the Socceroos in the last few years they're way behind where they were when.
Yeah, I think they've probably overachieved. It was super exciting, I'll be honest, like the Peru, and then obviously getting out of the group and the last World Cup, but might be papered over again because more teams are qualifying for the next World Cup.
Yeah.
But we've got to be qualified for World Cups. We discussed before about more players going overseas from the A-League, having more opportunities, more exposure to go over and test yourself, right? Getting out of your comfort zone. So that's huge. That's going to help the teams. But yeah, we need the Olyroos to qualify for Olympics. We need our young Socceroos and Joey's to be qualifying for tournaments and getting that experience, and that will help the level of the Socceroos. It's quite obvious, and then more people. So that's the first step, right? So Women's World Cup gave the injection to the whole game.
Yeah.
Women's obviously important, but the men's as well gave that injection. So more participants means bigger pool to choose from, better players, better coaches, And hopefully that filters through. That's 10, 15 years away. Keep the guys in the game, keep them learning and playing as much football as possible, and you get better.
Yeah. Matildas?
Yeah, well, it's no doubt the Matildas are in a really exciting period of time, and it'll be a moment of time for everyone to remember. It changed the landscape of the sport here. So I think in terms of talent on the field, we're peaking, and I think we've overachieved. Definitely, if we look at the landscape of some of these other countries that are playing, and if you look at the Under-20s Women's World Cup, which is not a lot of these are spoken about, but Spain, Japan, US, years ahead of everybody else, and as they should be. When Spain decided they wanted to actually have a look at women's football, they've just got the capacity to turn it on so easily. And again, still, when you look at their leagues and their clubs, it's just maybe Barca, maybe one other club that do a good job with their women's. All the rest don't. In fact, it's a lot of them are barely being paid. So when they really decide to turn it on, it's going to be difficult for the Matildas to maintain their overachieving. But I think now it's such a popular sport out here. We are naturally an athletic country. The branding of these girls is going to actually have such a huge spike. So I hope we can harness that talent. And we've been so lucky with just raw talent. The Sammy Kerrs, she could have achieved, and she would have represented Australia in any sport she chose. So we're lucky. But she would have, I think, trained AFL up until,
Yeah, we can't lose those girls now.
That's right. We need to do a bit more in that space. The pathways, again, will need to get a little bit stronger. And I think just with that growth, how do we support this next generation? But I hope we've got one more really good round of cycle. I mean, a 4-year cycle to give it another really good crack.
Yeah.
But fourth in the Olympics, fourth in the World Cup.
Home Asian Cup.
Asian Cup, but
Plays
similar to the men's, the Asia is very, very tough to qualify through. And in fact, a lot of people recently, did you go to the Olympics? We didn't qualify for the Olympics in my entire 12 years of being in the Matildas. North Korea knocked us out every single time. So very difficult pathway. Bit easier for the World Cup. So it's going to be a good challenge, but it's going to be exciting.
Is probably a naive question. Is it if you host the Asian Cup, is it automatic that you're in?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you host, you're in.
Yep.
But previous winners that got scrapped in World Cups. The previous winner automatically got in. I think that got knocked on there. They still had to qualify again.
Just the host.
Yeah, just the host.
Didn't Italy miss out on a Euro or a World Cup after the next? So around about then.
Yeah. All right.
Love to see some females, winning Champions League and things like that now. For the first time ever that, you're going abroad to do that. I think there's a huge opportunity for women to make a name for themselves in that club space. What I was saying, it's not just what you do for Matildas, it's what you do in your club careers as well.
Well, the exposure now, because of all the TV, all these girls are going across, like you see all the grounds full, like English Premier League grounds are, getting massive crowds. So the exposure is there for them now. Oh,
absolutely. Barca sellouts every single time. France, again, the Lyon, PSG, the top 2 or 3 clubs off the charts. But I think the US is the space to watch. Japan have always been pretty good. It was a bit of a go-to for Australians to go to Japan. China, when they decide to really put their foot down as well, that was scarily good. But the US, in terms of commercially, how they're setting things up over there, the club ownership, just unreal. So I'd love to see Australia follow suit in some capacity. We certainly don't have the college systems that they do, where they breed all this talent. But they're unstoppable at the moment.
Yeah. And the vision for the future. So, what are your visions for the future of football in Queensland?
That's deep.
It's a very, very broad question. It's the last serious one. Be a little more fun after this.
Yeah, I guess vision is being able to provide as much opportunity and quality facilities. So that's for women and men. So you've got to be able to cope with the increase in participation, which will come over and over again. It's not going to stop. Every year is going to go up. So I think for, that is just to give as much opportunity as possible for any kid that wants to play football.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think more broadly speaking, we'd love to obviously collectively reduce the fees for the game. I think that's what everybody's working towards and how we do that. And one of the biggest things we need is the backing from government to really recognise this significant growth period for boys and girls, the health benefits off the back of that. So we work tirelessly to work with government to get them to see that. So I think watch this space. There's these infrastructure needs, there's these cultural needs within football clubs as well. I think we've got a lot of work to do to make it more inclusive for females across the board, more female leaders in different positions, more female presidents, more females on the board, more female coaches. That's the exact reason we do things like, do a free coaching course for the women's, because we need to increase the pool.
Female coach is important, eh?
Oh, it's huge. And it's because if you think about, I think about, I've got a little 18-month-old daughter, and I take her into the local football club. No matter which way you shake it, there's still a really rich history of men's football wherever you go. And even no matter what they're trying to do now, the wall's aligned with men, photos of men's history, and there's all sorts of things. So I think all of us could collectively do a better job of just some cultural things, cultural shifts, particularly in regional areas as well, where we can make it more welcoming for this new generation of girls that are coming in thick and fast, which is amazing. And there's so much more we could do in these regional spaces as well, Indigenous space. The list goes on with how much I would love to see in the vision, but day by day.
Yeah, it's a huge question.
Yeah, it's big. It's a beast, but just small wins weekly and having the right people in the right place goes a long way to make that happen.
We're a great state as well, to be honest, and to give opportunity across such a large state, it's very important to give everyone an opportunity. So
Yep. Couple curveballs of your way coming up, are they?
Yeah, well, I've decided to throw you under the bus a little bit, actually.
Love this.
We'll start with you, Matt. So we do this thing on the audio podcast. You've probably seen it done to death on social media. So I'm going to give you two names of players, midfielders. These are midfielders. You're going to pick the one that you think was better, and then we're going to keep going until we get to the end. Yeah.
I did say to go for left backs, but I was over
That's true. All right. Frank Lampard, Patrick Vieira.
Lampard.
Frank Lampard, Gennaro Gattuso.
Lampard. That's good.
Frank Lampard, Paul Scholes.
Skulls.
Paul Scholes, Michael Ballack.
Skulls.
Ballack.
Paul Scholes, Stephen Gerrard.
Stevie G.
Stevie G, Andrea Pirlo.
Stevie G.
Stevie G, Xavi.
Xavi.
Xavi, Iniesta.
Iniesta.
Iniesta, Cesc Fabregas.
Iniesta.
Done. All right, Iniesta, there you go.
Seemed tough. You were straight.
He's my age. He's and I played against him well. They're all those last three are unbelievable.
Yeah.
Is he still going?
No.
I think
He was in Japan, but I think
he's done.
finished up, did he?
Yeah, finished up.
it was Xavi who moved into coach and won it.
Yeah.
At Barca.
He quit, then came back and got sacked.
All right, I'm going to throw under the bus a little bit.
Yeah.
So you've recently done the coverage for the Euros with Optus.
Oh, yeah. How's the memory? Yep.
Yeah, well, you're going to pick between all of the people who were on the presenting team with you.
Okay. Not Bridget. Okay.
Tommy Sorensen, Mark Schwarzer.
Oh, Schwartzy.
Of course.
Mark Schwarzer, Tommy Orr.
Schwartzy.
Mark Schwarzer, Scott McDonald.
Schwartzy. Sorry, Scotty.
Mark Schwarzer, John Aloisi.
Oh. I mean, he's still a goalkeeper. I'm going to jump to Johnny.
John Aloisi, Michael Bridges.
Oh, Johnny.
John Aloisi, Milos Ninkovic.
Oh, I love Ninkovic, but it's Johnny.
John Aloisi, David Zrulich.
Johnny.
John Aloisi, Jay Bothroyd.
I don't know much about Jay, so Johnny for the win there.
Johnny for the
Not
win.
bad. Can take a pen. Loves talking about it.
Yeah.
I
That's
would have
good.
stayed with Schwartzy the whole way.
Schwartzy, I can't give him that.
He's a legend.
He is a legend.
So I would say I grew up all my late teens. Tommy Sorensen was in goal for Sunderland. He was brilliant. But Schwarzer, he did win a Premier League, didn't he?
One of my first punditry things on the sideline for the Women's World Cup was I was standing in between Tom Sorensen and Mark Schwarzer. They're both just shy of 200 centimetres. I had a small caravan step and I still was like, what is this?
Yeah.
Another feeling, mate.
Yeah, exactly. But I did want to ask you, Matty, about your trademark tucked in shirt look. Was that just something that stuck that you thought this is a good look? And
When did it come into fashion to pull your shirt out? We always had to keep our shirt tucked in when we were juniors.
We were talking about this the other night. There was people getting yellow cards.
Yeah, you had to walk out with your shirt tucked in.
I used to have
And then
mine
they used to
tucked in
take-
at the front. And that.
So it used to be
You're a cool kid.
Yeah, I was
they
like
used to
that,
take it out after you walked out. I don't know. I just thought it was a professional way of doing it, and I just stuck with it.
Yeah.
Eh? I don't do it now.
Seems weird you got
Yeah,
so many
Metro
red
won.
cards with your shirt tucked in.
Maybe
so,
that's why.
Yeah. Just a nice guy.
Normal questions. Favorite ground. So I suppose we can do it two ways. Favorite ground that you've ever played in, but then favorite ground locally as well.
Suncorp Stadium,
Yeah.
Lang Park, and then before that was Perry Park.
Yeah.
Right, home of Queensland football, and then Suncorp's. So many good memories.
Yeah.
And it's an amazing stadium. It's hard to beat.
Yeah. Yourself.
Yeah, I don't know. I've played at Suncorp plenty of times, but maybe not to the same crowds Maddie had. But I love like some of those like Central Coast Mariners stadiums. Beautiful. Even Wollongong,
That's my second
aside
favourite,
from,
yeah.
is so good.
No, not Gosford.
Wollongong,
Yeah,
there's too many
Gosford,
singles at
on the
Wollongong.
board.
but
We never
when-
lose at Gosford.
Yeah.
Like, the Royal never lost.
If you
And they've
took
got family
around-
down, they've got married down there, so it's beautiful. It's just
Yeah.
a picturesque.
Yeah.
You're always comfortable there.
Yeah,
We always
it makes
won.
you feel like this is proper Australian when
Yeah.
you've got the
sauce
the
bottles.
beach.
The sauce
Yeah.
bottles, the palms, and
Yeah.
the water there. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, there's been some cool stadiums as well, but I think that's pretty iconic Australian.
And what about locally? So I know you ran around for Capalaba for a few years.
Yeah, I love the Bulldogs. Probably wouldn't be the
Yeah.
field, the kennel.
They're rough at the moment. Field
Yeah.
2 is unfortunately where we're stuck on a Metro 1 at Capalaba is not in good nick.
It's always been a tough place to watch a game at as well.
Yeah.
Today it's different now. It's been
I know it's
redone.
it's much nicer.
It's
but
at the end, but
it's still
It's still a bit of a distance though, even if you're in that sexy new bar, it's still
Yeah.
And
miles away.
also, I've taken this up every time I've been there, but that Guinness tap has been struggling for a while now.
is it not working?
It works, but it takes a good.
I'll speak to
sort
them,
of-
mate.
Bit of feedback for
Well,
the
I
kennel.
had a chat to Kim about this, and she wasn't happy with me because I raised it publicly. But not sure if anything's been done yet. But if you can check it out for us,
No,
mate.
mate, they always restock. They've always got my beer ready. So
Just
they-
go straight to the
they
board
know.
for that. Straight to
Yeah.
the beer tap at the
Yeah.
kennel.
Make sure they
Um,
re-tap the keg.
I like Perry Park's got a nice field. There's some good atmosphere there. I think Broadbeach are on some good land down there.
Yeah. Any of those clubs
local.
that down the coast, like where they're close to the water, there's something about, maybe it's similar to like the Central Coast one, but just something about being that close to the beach, I think is pretty cool.
Salton, yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to find a good surface this time of year, by the way.
Oh yeah, especially
Find
in
one in
leagues.
Redcliffe, Angela
Yeah.
Powers pitch at the minute.
All right,
like a
I
car.
know Rochdale's always. We always get Rochdale early in the season. It's always really, really good.
Yeah.
We played there recently, and it's still spot
Yeah,
on.
they look after it really
Yeah.
well. Up
We had a few seasons at Penn Powers Field up there. I do.
That's always
Yeah.
it's
Bit
always a good
windy
service.
occasionally. I would
Can
call.
be, yeah.
Yeah, but
That's a good
we've had some big
service.
wins there.
Yeah.
Really good
And
service.
still,
Yeah.
it's good all year round, right?
Yeah.
Good-
He looks after
You do
it.
really
Good stands as
Yeah.
well, like as in you're
Yeah.
close to the action.
Yeah.
Yeah, full length. Yeah,
Yeah. All right. Narrow it down here. Best player ever played with and against.
Harry Kuehl is my hero.
Yeah.
I played with some good ones, but yeah, Harry Kuehl. At Brisbane, obviously, I had Thomas Brush, but Harry Kuehl. Against. You go with your play with.
Oh, well, you'd have to say Sammy Kerr.
Yeah.
She's just unbelievable. But Marta was incredible. I've had a few moments with some of the best female players. I think Abby Wambach, she just towered over me. So they're probably... But I'd still come back to Sammy. I think
Yeah.
just maybe I didn't realise her potential at that time,
Yeah.
but what she's done on the world stage is just unbelievable.
Yeah, I played against Spain, so Iniesta was one through, but yeah, any of that team.
Yeah.
Yeah, played against my last international game. I played against Wayne Rooney.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're both on the bench.
Not a bad name to chuck into the mix.
We're both on the bench at half time. You obviously go to the toilet after half time, so I was running in. I saw him there, just perfect opportunity, and we'll slap on. As I ran past.
As you do.
Yeah, those are the kind of moments that you get to play against these guys that
Yeah.
you've watched all the time. So even if I was at my pinnacle, they're miles ahead.
Yeah.
And, I loved, testing yourself against those players.
You mentioned Suncorp Stadium being a tough one to beat, but like packed that Orange Sunday, the miracle against the Mariners. Like, I was going to ask you where that stacks up, like in comparison with your international honours, because you said
it's probably above it, to be honest. Because it's a local team. I take great pride in the Brisbane Strikers back in the day, and I went to the grand final then, and to be the first part of the first team to win it.
Yeah.
I think that moment of Eric Pardelou heading that goal.
The Visconti.
I was running the other.
Were you guys
I was
there?
running in a different
I
direction.
was there.
I was watching on TV.
I was at the opposite end to that. I was at the
I didn't
shootout
the
end.
country a couple of years.
And that's by far my best memory of football.
Yeah.
Like the feeling that you can't replicate.
Yeah.
That moment.
I reckon the noise has never been beaten.
Mm.
The decibel level when that ball went
I
in.
imagine
Sure,
so.
the whole place
It was
definitely shook. didn't it?
ridiculous. Like, you couldn't write
Yeah.
like how that
Oh.
played out. Unbelievable.
That whole year was incredible. Just knowing that each week you thought, I knew we were going to win each week.
Yeah.
I don't know what that feeling, if you can bottle that up,
Yeah.
like for any team that you're in, and figure it out, because
Processing
it is just a sensational
Yeah.
feeling.
Did you think Ange would go to the heights that he has at that time? Like, did you like Premier League heights?
Pretty
though?
impressive what he did. Like, he came in halfway through the season before and was horrendous. Like he didn't change anything, just put out the thing, didn't really coach. It's like, geez, because I had him with the national
Yeah.
teams. It's really weird. But then first day of pre-season, everything was meticulous. The way we worked, the way we did, had a straight philosophy, everything on the ground. Every training session was adapted to make sure that we had to play through pressure. So it was constant scenarios of trying to play out and the way we want to play. And you see he's just been able to replicate that.
Yeah,
And
wherever he's
he
gone.
changes a little bit everywhere. I'm sure it's a lot different now, but that same principles, and he's got that ability to adapt training to make that happen.
Yeah.
So that's
So-
as any coach, like we want to be able to do that.
Was that first few months, was he just observing? Was he
was,
figuring
yeah.
out who needs to go?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he moved on all the older players,
Yeah.
and I was fortunate. I had a year left on my contract, so I was going nowhere. And
Yeah.
he got back and he brought the players in that he wanted, and everyone was hungry. We talked about hunger, and that's what he did.
It was pretty ballsy to come in and to do that initially, especially
Yeah.
because there was like the knives were out even when he was announced,
Yeah.
because like his previous job with the
Yeah.
20s where
Yeah.
they failed
that
to
famous one
qualify
with
and
Craig
the blow up
Foster,
with Foster, and he was because he was doing like punditry for
Yeah.
Fox Sport, right?
Yeah. So that's what they do. They to stay involved. They go into the punditry and just to stay involved in the game
Yeah.
and stay known. So all the coaches do that now. They go back and Johnny Lewis is a prime example. He's a very good pundit, right? I really enjoy listening to him, and I'm glad he went after he left the Roar. He got another job.
Yeah.
He's doing well and won a title at Western United. So I'm going to go. Hopefully, go see Ange in November.
Oh, yeah.
November, December. They've got a school tour. I'm going over.
Yeah.
I'm hoping
Tickets.
to get to see him. I'm sure.
Be kicking
Tottenham
the door
will be.
down.
I will be. Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously with Millet there, and
Yeah.
he's not Aussie, but he kind of is. Nick
Yeah.
Montgomery and the other one. So a bit of a Aussie contingent over there. It'd be great to learn a bit more.
Enjoy that. Well, look, thanks for coming on. Been really enjoyable, informative, and good luck with the future, with the vision, improving the game, taking it to new heights. We wish you all the best. So
Appreciate it. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, doing a great job, you guys. Love
No
your
worries.
subs bench.
Yeah.
We don't want to be benchies anymore, though.
Don't be benchies.
Sometimes.
No one's going to bench.
It's too cold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nah, thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you,
Thanks,
guys.
all good.
Cheers.
We'll be back with another episode, or video episode in a couple of weeks' time. So like, subscribe, share, do what you got to do. Until then, see you later. Ciao.
The root.